Melbourne Business School has been in the business of executive education since it was founded by business for business. It's a very significant part of what the school does. And in fact, it contributes about 40% of the revenues of the school in a typical year. In terms of the types of programs we offer, then our very first program when we were founded was the General Management Program. Over time, that's increased to a portfolio of about 28 or 29 short courses, but also a much larger learning solutions business where we work with organizations to help them achieve their strategic goals through learning and people capability development. So when I joined the school, which is about 3.5 years ago, I was surprised to discover that actually we were running a short courses business and our executive education business more broadly on very much the core technology platforms that are being used in our award business. Now, these are two very different businesses. And so the trigger, if you like, for thinking about deploying a new solution was to really try and find something that better fitted with the needs of our executive education business. So the school historically has had a partnership with Canvas. That's not unusual in higher education institutions. But of course, in executive education, we're dealing with a very different audience type. Learners tend to be employed by organizations. Oftentimes, we have a relationship with the organization that is as important as the relationship we have with the learner. And of course, our learners are busy people. They're managing their learning commitments in the course of their daily lives. And that includes not just their personal responsibilities, but of course, their responsibilities at work. And so we needed a technology solution that really recognized that need for adaptability, flexibility, and offered the opportunity to be much more tailored in the way that we align our learning and courses, our programs, with the needs of our particular learners and organizational partners. And a good example of that is in our short courses business, where actually we were running that business almost as if we were running a whole series of degree programs, in the sense that people would be asked to apply to join a program, and that would then go through a very circuitous admissions pathway, where in actual fact, what we want to try and do is connect those learners who are interested in participating in a short course to get them into that course and to get them to start their learning journey as quickly as possible. Yes, so since we started Guroo Academy, we've become a lot more interested in how do we harness the benefits of both digital learning, but also face-to-face learning, and to really try and maximize the best of both. As a school of some standing, we are very proud of the quality of our face-to-face experiences, and we do consider them to be the X factor moments. But of course, that doesn't mean we can't harness technology to ensure that those learning experiences are also highly personalized, delivered flexibly. The learning people receive, either virtually driven or face-to-face, is supported and amplified by all of the work that we completed for a platform like Academy. And up until we deployed that solution, the tools that we had that were available to us in executive education were fairly limited. And so I think what this has now provided us with a platform that allows us to do an awful lot more for our learners and for our client organizations, and to give them a lot more optionality in the way that they partner with the school to achieve their goal. So I think one of the things we're really looking forward to taking advantage of through this platform is not only do we provide an outstanding learning experience through the platform itself, we're progressively migrating all of our online and face-to-face short courses onto MBS Academy, but also by those learners joining this ecosystem by becoming alumni members of MBS, where can we go next? And so I think that's where the opportunity to connect those learners into ongoing pathways to continue their learning into either other areas of leadership and management upskilling or into other masterclasses or other types of learning format is really exciting. My encouragement would be to not think about this as purely a technology vendor relationship. But there's a lot of evolution in the business models within education and learning at the moment. And I think the institution would need to be very clear about where its strategy is in the midst of that disruption and change. And I think that having early conversations with Guroo before you start thinking about implementing a solution as to how to realize that ambition and how to implement your strategy. And I think the lesson that we've learned through this partnership is that, yes, of course, that the evolution of the business model is now to some extent taken for granted, but being very clear about where that starting point is And then my other encouragement would be to think very carefully about how you manage the parallel change within your organization. Executive education in Australian institutions can range from being a fairly mature, sizable business to being something a little smaller, something that's actually a little bit more in its startup stages. So being very clear about where you sit within that journey and then what parallel changes are required within your own people, processes and systems to take advantage of the technology that something like the Guroo Academy platform can provide.